doing, Jason Moss? Sharing with you some my research that I did about a year ago, and what I discovered was the Zeta Reticuli, Zeta Sagittari constellations are 88 light years away from us right now. But what's interesting to note is that between 1 million and 1.8 million years ago on Earth, the Zeta Sagittari constellation was within 1 light year of the Earth. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that this constellation was, literally we were within the constellation of Zeta Sagittari at that time. We were there. And many astronomers have said that at those nights on Earth 1 million years ago, you'd have been able to have read a newspaper under the Zeta Sagittari, Zeta Reticuli stars. The suns would have been bright enough at night. 1 light year away is really no different than sitting at the edge of our solar system, is where that would have been sitting at the time. And it would have been bright enough to walk out at night, and would have been as much luminosity, as much light on the planet from their stars as our full moon would be at night. And it's also important to note that we were in that Zeta Sagittari constellation for a long time. We weren't there for a few weeks or months, but this was probably centuries. We sat like this, thousands of years, sitting within that region of space. Also, what's interesting to note in my research is that I found that scientists also, on another field of science, they found archaeology, anthropology, they found that the human evolution took a jump at that time. That suddenly we were, the human race, we were discovering on this planet that the human race had taken a jump 1.2 million years ago, around that same time. Also, it's interesting to make the correlation that life before 1.2 million years ago was more ape-like. It was more like chimpanzees that were walking around at that time 3 million years ago with Australopithecus. There are records recently in this last century of discoveries of types of chimpanzees that can walk on 2 legs. And essentially what was around before 1.2 million years ago, going back 2 million, 3 million years on this planet, were basically no more than more ape-like chimps walking on the planet. They really couldn't be called, at the time, any kind of Procanthus and the other, and Australopithecus. They were more ape-like creatures on the planet. It's also interesting to note that the ape time scale goes back 9 million years on this planet. So 9 million years ago, there's nothing but apes on this planet at that time, primates. Now, it's also interesting that in those 8 million years leading up to 1.2 million years ago, 8 million years, there was simply ape-like creatures on the planet that were more or less like what we found in Africa, what's been discovered in Africa. And there was a pygmies ape that was discovered about 80 years ago. There's only one photograph, and the people killed it. It stood almost 4 feet tall, and it could walk. There was the pygmies monkeys people know about that can walk upright on 2 legs. But a pygmy's ape may now be extinct, but may have been around as recent as this last century before they went into extinction. Could almost be passed off as Australopithecus when you think about it. It's difficult to look at a pygmy's ape and imagine that being any kind of an ancestor to humankind. But when you look at Homo erectus arrived on the planet 1.2 million years ago. Now, when you look at the research, you draw the comparison between planetary evolution, and from Homo erectus, we have Cro-Magog, we have Neanderthal, we have the Homo sapiens, that suddenly there's this 9 million years, and in 9 million years, and 8 million of those years, there's nothing. But then all of a sudden there's this leap in evolution, and there's nothing to suggest, when you think about it, there really isn't any reason why Australopithecus or Procanthus should go from 8 million years of what they were doing and become and make that jump in evolution. People have tried to describe this. Perhaps the grasslands changed. Perhaps the prairies changed. Perhaps the trees began to recede and there was more grasslands. As one theory was put forth. But what would cause a recession of the forests? Well, again, we have a recession of forests and grasslands. Then how come we haven't seen that evolution in the last 1.2 million years with the other apes on the planet? But then in that theory should say that right now all chimpanzees should be gone and should be more or less Homo sapien-like creatures like us, like the human race, or like what we are. So I did a correlation between the two sciences, and that's just two different disciplines right there. That's archaeology with astronomy, and 1.2 million to 1.8 million years back around the time of that leap in evolution, this solar system, this planet, all these 9 planets were in the Zeta Sagittari constellation. We were in fact Zetas. Now, when you go into the discipline, when you go into the ufology for just a minute, which many have called pseudoscience or laughed it off, many abductees have said, and just quoting from them, so you're not taking it just from me, my word from this. They have all said that the Greys, going back to Betty Hill in the 1960s, who drew her first star map, and because she saw a star map on a spaceship, and when she compared it to star charts with astronomers, it was the Zeta Reticuli constellation. And others have drawn similar star maps to the Zeta Sagittari constellation. And there was even a theory put forth that in fact the human race sprung up from the Greys, that we're indeed hybrids, that they made mankind. So there's the correlation, there's my video. Thank you for watching.